Good blocking. Way to keep the legs going, Willie. Let's not one lead. They're moving. Run it. Go, Willie. Good run. Get that dirt in there. Stop grabbing a hold of it. Tuck it in.
How many did they go? Go. Well, that's what they were working with.
Niggas ask where you went, I didn't see them. Nah, I wouldn't wanna be them. Shorty stay on the hip like a motherfucker. I draw, quicker than a cheetah.
Hello, thank you people. Yo, stop, what? What's up now? No, 30 the block. Black watch. Yeah! All the stickers. All the stickers. Shut up, please. Now you're happy. You hurt my ankle.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Hughes. I met Willie when I was in 4th grade. I believe I was 9 years old and he was 10.
First time I met Willie was in elementary school, grade school. We go all the way back. I just, we weren't really, close back then. We're around the same age, but he's a grade younger than me. But, that was all the way back in like the Vern Critz days. So, he's a good friend. And then once we got to start getting into middle school and football and, that stuff, we became closer. He actually played on a different youth team. I played for South Shore, and he played for, I know he played for Sachem 1 year. So we weren't like playing on a youth together, but once we got to middle school, that's when we really started to develop our true brotherhood through football.
Willie, when I was about, he lived down the street from me, and that was like the first time that I seen him. We didn't really hang out as much, but everybody knew Willie from playing football, so that's where I heard his name. But our parents basically grew up together. It's just, it's a small town about us, so they all grew up together. So that's how we really know each other. But when I first met him, it was definitely in elementary school.
Like elementary school age
or middle school?
Middle school, yeah. I mean, he hasn't changed. He was always very passionate. And he loved football. He loved his friends. And that's, one word that I could describe, and you could tell by, when you watch the film of him, just the passion that he played with. And he just always wanted to be great, and that's, I remember when, I was in 9th grade and he came up, he was playing varsity as a 9th grader, and that's something that, hasn't been done. And as an 8th grader, he played JV with us when we were in 9th grade. But, yeah, I mean, one word, you know, it's kind of hard to describe someone's personality in one word, but that would definitely be one that comes to mind is, you know, his just passion for the game and all things Bellport football. He loved it, loved the community, you know, the breakfast and then everything that we do. He was always involved in it, you know, from a young age. And he was a bright shining star. You know, you just knew he was different than, you know, than most who walked on that field, just the natural talent and the raw ability. And he was a great friend, man. He still is. You know, we still think of him, still honor him, and you know, that's our boy forever.
I'm Andre Charles Claiborne. I'm Willie Davis's older brother. And we got a 13-year gap, and Willie was a spoiled brat. You know, got everything he wanted. You couldn't touch him, but he would do everything to you. Yeah, that was Willie. Nah, not really, because I went away to school, so a lot of time he was coming up, so I was actually going, you know, we communicated a little bit over the mail or whatever, phone. But nah, Willie was with his father most of the time, you know. Willie was a very affectionate kid, man. Loving, you know what I mean? But he was challenging, you know. He always very competitive. You know, he would challenge you even when he was younger. He was tough. Willie was tough, man.
He was definitely outgoing. Definitely the life of the party at a young age. I felt like he was kind of ahead of his time. Like he didn't act like a 12-year-old, you know what I mean, 11-year-old. He really acted like he was 16. But you know, my first impression of him was he wasn't scared of anything. That was my first impression. Like if he wanted to do something, he was gonna do it, and he didn't care who was looking. You know what I mean? That was like one of the first things that I've seen when I first met him. I'm like, this guy's crazy, man.
Well, he always was so cheerful. When he walked into a room, he had presence. And he was very popular. All the girls loved him. The guys, the punk rockers, it didn't matter who you were. He was the center of attention, the life of a party, wherever he went. He was loved.
I'm Sharice, and I'm Willie's sister. A pain in the butt. But as he was like one of my kids because he was the baby.
There's a scripture that says, through love and kindness have I drawn thee. Willie was definitely some love and kindness, man. That was just him. Like, he had that, you know, and I think he was the type of person that when he came around you, whether you liked him or you didn't, you had to do better. He brought that attitude. So when somebody has that much power in his mere presence, that's special. You know what I mean? Like, when you saw Willie, you know, you're like, oh, wow, all right, what's it gonna be? What, you know, he will debate with you or whatever it's gonna be, but you had to be right. He made you step your game up, no matter what. Like I said, whether you liked him or not, you had to step it up.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to anybody who's watching this. I hope you're having a great day. We all miss Willie more than anybody could probably express. He was definitely one of a kind. He was a sweet, sweet, sweet boy. He was crazy as hell, but he was sweet. Always trying to make somebody laugh, always acting crazy, but he was sweet at the end of the day. He had an amazing heart. My fondest memory of him is definitely on that football field, running his butt, making us proud, making those touchdowns, cheering for him, and just watching him do his thing on the field was always crazy, always amazing, always exciting.
The way I look back over things now, I think Willie was a gift. You know, and there's only, if you're a gift, he was a good gift, and he came from God. I just think that we just didn't get a chance to appreciate him the way we could have, and that was it.
My name is Carlos Malave, and I grew up with Willie Davis. Willie was somebody that I admired and looked up to very much. He had it all. He was charming, he was charismatic, he was fun, he was outgoing. He was everything a boy wanted to be when we were growing up. He wasn't afraid to be himself, and that was the biggest thing that I took out of being around Willie. He was willing to say how he felt and be who he wanted to be, regardless of what people thought about him. Now that inspired me and many more that crossed his path. While he was here he made it okay for me to try to find my way to be who I wanted to be and talk how I wanted to talk and be okay with that. And I can tell you now, with everything that I'm doing now and inspiring children and teaching children, I take those lessons that I learned from Willie growing up to teach and preach to these children now. So while he was here, he had a huge impact on my life and many more that were in his life. And I can guarantee you that his spirit lives on and will continue to live on. He was a great person, a great soul, and we miss him dearly. My condolences to his family and everybody that knew him and was close to him.
Willie was real. No matter where he was at, he always would tell you the truth. Like, he wouldn't sugarcoat anything. If you were in the wrong, he's gonna tell you you were wrong. If you were right, he's gonna tell you he was right. And like I said, wherever he went, he had presence. Everyone loved him. The teachers loved him. The faculty loved him. The lunch ladies loved him. The students loved him. The security guard loved him. I think when I was in 6th grade, Willie was already on the football team in high school. So he would leave middle school on the bike and go to the high school to go practice. And every single day he'd be like, listen, you gonna bring your friends to my game? You gonna please bring them? Please bring them? I'm like, all right, Willie, I'm gonna bring them.
My God, he always PAL, obviously, as you know. I never really played PAL, so fast forward from Vern W. Crits to middle school. Middle school is where we really got down, and that's when we really got tight. He was in 7th grade, I was in 8th grade. And it was just a lot of comparisons to as far as like the coaches and everything, they did a lot of similarities between me and him, from him already, his family already being in sports and then my family being in sports. It was only right that they could pair both of us. So, instead of us being like, trying to be enemies or going against each other, like we really bonded more than anything. Because with him, once he sees somebody, that's in the sports and just as good as him, it's like he brings out the better athlete, you know what I'm saying, in that person. He definitely, for me, my opinion, he brought out the athlete in me. He put in times where I didn't think I was going to keep going. And he's like, nah, man, you got to keep going. And then, after that season, going into JV.
Willie Davis, the original. One of the best to ever do it, laced it up. He's a great guy too. Inspired a lot of people. Inspired me on the field. Wanted me to get better. He always said I was going to the next level. He, passed too soon, but my fondest memory of Willie is, him getting called up to play JV when we were in middle school. He was like a celebrity. He's the original. Loved him, miss him. Best wishes to all the family. And, thinking about him, but he's a great guy.
So, Willie was jack of all trades. I call Willie Superman. There was nothing that he couldn't do. I felt like he was invincible, Funny story, our mothers were in labor together, so we kind of like grew up together, I wanted to play football, because of Willie. I knew Willie was, a superstar, and, that's what drew me to football. I was a soccer player. And when they started the Bellport Youth Football, we were actually on the first team together. They came to me and they said, "Do you want to play?" I said, "Nah." They said, "Well, Willie's playing, Willie Davis." I said, "All right, then I'll play." And we were in the backfield together. He protected me. He was like a little bit older than me, but he was more seasoned and more mature, so he was like a big brother to me. But my first time slap boxing was with Willie. He two-pieced me. So he just kind of, you know, showed me the ropes when I was younger. You know, we used to kind of play football, play basketball together. He's the first kid that I've seen dunk in the middle school. You know, when he was in 8th grade, he was dunking. I hadn't seen that before. And he wasn't that tall, you know. So that just goes to show you the kind of athleticism he had.
He was real. People, you can't come by a real person. People sugarcoat things for you, but like I said, if you weren't looking right, he's gonna tell you, yo, bro, you can't come out the house with me with those pants on. You don't match. Or, look at your hair. You gotta go flat iron that hair real quick. You ain't coming out with me, girl. That's exactly what he was saying, just like that. And you know, you have to whip it right back up because he's not going out half-stepping.
He was my uncle, but more so like a father figure too. He always made me laugh. There was this one time I was on the bus and he was at my Uncle Joe's house and he was walking with my cousin Corey. He was heading there and I was sitting next to this boy. He started banging on the window. He said, "You better get away from my niece." But the boy's like, "Hi, hi." He said, "No, get away from my niece." And then there was one time we was upstairs and I guess I was bothering him and he had went to the store. He was like, "I'll get you something, but you gotta sit here." And he made me write my name 100 times on the piece of paper so I could leave him alone.
Well, I remember after school, me, him, my sister, and a few of his friends, we used to go to his house, jump on his trampoline with his cousins, and we would go back to my house. And every single day when we would walk home, the dog at the corner would chase us all home. And Willie was the fastest. He would leave everybody. And you know, I was slow. I'm a slow runner. I don't like to run. I got asthma. So finally one day I grabbed the back of his shirt and he was running. And I tripped over the back of his sneakers and we both fell and we went sliding. And I still got the bruises and scratches all over my arms and knees from that day.
One of the best stories is when I was learning how to drive, you know. Davis, my stepdad, Willie's dad, was teaching me how to drive. So finally, going for my road test. Get to the road test, you know, you're waiting for the lady to come to the car or whatever like that. So Willie says, "Hey, don't get in the car with him. He don't know how to drive." So that's kind of how Willie was. That's kind of how my road test started like that. So that's one of the funny stories there.
There's a lot going through my mind. I mean, I could tell you stories for days. One time, you know, it was when we were real young, and he's over at my house sleeping over or something, and we were like, it's JV, so we got to be there like 6 o'clock in the morning, and you know, we wound up staying up late playing Madden, and you know, I think he might have taken the bike out, you know, to take a ride around there or something, but you know, that's just little stupid stuff. But the one funny, you know, and that's stuff you remember more, besides, you know, the games. And like when we get together, we don't talk about the tackles and the touchdowns. It's more the stuff that we shared off the field. And we used to always make fun of him one time. We would do like the Friday night meetings, and the lineman, like everyone was talking and joking around, not, you know, being as quite as serious as we should have been. This must have been in 04. It had to be 04. And he just started crushing because, you know, Friday night we do pizza. Thursday night they do you know, chili, and like we have all these pasta parties and stuff. And I think we were getting in trouble, something along the lines, and he was just like, "Wednesday night you're doing this, pigging out. Thursday night pigging out. Friday night pigging out." And it was just you know, one of those things. And like I think he like sat down, and like later we started laughing about it. But you know, it was just little stupid things you remember like that. And on the field, memory, I mean, you know, there's so many. You know, like I said, the one that, you know, when he really came on the scene was his freshman year against East Islip. And again, he was just the best player on the field at such a young age. I was hurt, I broke my leg, so I was just watching, and he was just dominating. And then his junior year, you know, we had the battles with North Babylon, you know, and he was right up in everyone's face, and again, not backing down from anyone. And you know, that's kind of the story, the thread that, you know, the passion and, you know, the relentlessness and just always believing that no matter who they have on their side, you know, as long as we got our boys, we're going to be fine. But yeah, those would be, you know, some funny things that stick out in my mind.
I think one story for sure is, you know, when I moved away from Belport or whatever, I come back, ride around a little bit. I always go see if I can find Willie, whatever, you know. And this particular time, I turned down Bedoyce, and Willie was coming. He was riding a bike. You know, I was in the military before. You know, you do a little marching. Willie's dogs was like in formation, following him, lined up behind each other. I said it was the most amazing thing I ever saw. You know what I mean? That was one of the fun stories there. You know.
Willie just showed us, because, like, my mom never told us she loved us, but it was something about Willie that his whole aura, he had it, and he showed us genuinely that he loved us. And he's the reason why I say I love you, because he brought it out of me. So he just showed us that love is just natural, and just be yourself. And there's plenty of times that he made me mad, but him just being him, you know, you forget about all the bad times.
Proud of Willie. Willie played, I think he was on JV football, you know. I mean, it was hard really not to be proud of Willie with the things he was doing, you know, as a young athlete and even coming up, you know. I saw Willie to me, Willie was going D1, going to the pros. That's what I saw my little brother as. But there was one time in particular, he started getting some accolades. I'm like, man, is this kid really this good? I don't know. So he was playing in, I think, Sachem Football League, PAL, playing on the Redskins in a championship game. But the day before that, he had a JV football game. They played on Sundays. I'm saying, what's this kid going to do? Boom, broke a touchdown. Boom, got the fumble, got the ball back, scored again. I said, yo, this kid is the truth. He's legit. You know, that proved it to me there. And his heart was just out of this world. I don't think anybody had a bigger heart than him.
I remember going into my after my senior year. I was training to go to college. I was in the gym every day by myself, just shooting. And I would go outside on the track and run. And one day I went out there, and Willie's out there on the football field by himself, throwing the football to himself, running, spinning, stiff arming, sprinting, going up and down, 100 yards, going up and down. So I go up there and I stop, and I'm like, Willie, what you doing? He's like, I just gotta put in that work. And every day in the off season, in the springtime, every single day in the springtime, he was at the school putting in work. He was working on football, I was working on basketball. So I remember that because we shared that together. You know, he had a situation where he didn't play as a junior and he was hungry to get back as a senior, you know, and I had a similar situation in high school. So I was hungry the same way, and we kind of shared that bond.
But one of my personal fondest memories is definitely one night we were all at a party, because we were always at a party somewhere, and I had left, going home, minding my own business, and no sooner did I leave, I got a phone call. You left me. Come pick me back up. I didn't leave him. His ass just wanted a ride home. Well, of course, because I loved him, turned my car around, went and picked his crazy ass up, and I drove him home. We always had good talks. We would always had good talks. He always kept me on my toes. Definitely always was an ear to listen, and a sweet, sweet heart. Miss him a lot. Love him much.
Well, I know he really loved football because he was dedicated to it. Like every day he would go to his practices. His father, I remember, was his mentor. He used to sit there and talk to him for hours and hours outside my house. He used to come, beep the horn, and he would run outside for Davis, his father. And when he came back inside, what we were doing before changed from what he was about to do. Like, you could tell that he was straightforward from then. After he spoke to his dad, he didn't want to play around and do the things that we were trying to do as teenagers. He was more focused. And I love to see that side of him.
He lived right around the corner from me. He was, he's, I guess, stay with his girlfriend or whomever, and she was close. So I used to pick him up for practice, and, and he'd be there just like a coach was and not getting paid for it. From there, from 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock to, we're always supposed to end at 8, but as everyone knows, the parents know probably better, we never end at 8. And again, that's one thing, and he did not change, and he was just a real dude. That passion, that love for the program, giving back to the community, talking to the younger kids about mistakes that any of us made, and that's why we do this, right? You don't want to see kids make the same mistakes, and also stuff that worked. So it's not always negative. It's, hey, this is what I did, this was positive. And he would be out there like taking like skelly reps doing practice. And he like slipped one time and hurt his knee. And she's like, I don't know if I can keep up with these younger boys anymore, but he was out there, playing with them, and he looked like he hadn't missed a step. He was doing like D-back drills, like teaching them the drops. And it was just natural, it was nothing that needed to be forced. No one was, telling him he wasn't doing community, so anything like that was completely on him. And you can tell it's like people kind of gravitated towards him, where it was like, he could put his arm around someone, a kid that he never knew. And it was like they've had a relationship their whole life. Like, he was a really personable guy. And he knew how to talk to the kids and relate to them. Because, growing up in this community, we have all walks of life, and he can kind of fit into any dynamic. I remember he sat down at a dinner with my family, and was just talking to my grandma like he was one of her grandsons, and that was him, man. He was a great personality, lit up the room, and he was he's a real good dude, man, and anything he did came from the heart. You knew if that he was on your side, you had a brother for life.
Yeah, I feel like, he came with all the potential in the world. I think the potential to be one of the top backs, and I still think potentially he left enough to prove that he could have been. It's there. But like I say, athletically, he was there. The academic part, I think that's what got him. But see, the thing about it is, it wasn't like Willie was very intelligent. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is, I personally think, this is just my opinion, that Willie knew, like, listen, man, if I don't finish high school, even if I finish high school, if I get through school the way things have been going, then how can I perform at college? You know what I'm saying? Not having it, because I did get a phone call from Willie. But as far as overall for him for football, it became humbling, because the year when he couldn't play due to academic problems, that set him back, and it gave other kids a chance. But, it never stopped him, never took his heart at the game. He went out there and he still played. So I said it was very humbling, but that's when I truly saw the person who he really was, man. It just showed me. He still went out there when they needed the ball back. He got it back for him. Whatever they needed to do, he did, But I also say that as when he put his head down in that field, when they lost to Lawrence, at Stony Brook, that was it for him, man. He knew that school for him was over at that time. You know what I mean? And that's just he just went to the next phase of his life. And that had to be tough, man. You know what I mean? Because that was his dream, man. He wanted that Long Island championship, man. But hey.
Yeah, he was at that point. I think leading up to the season, he was kind of a little unsure what he wanted to do, and kind of more thinking about becoming a man and getting a job and doing that stuff. And I think he started working for the town that summer. And I'll never forget, me and Jay Den and Strano and others, pretty sure Jesse came with us, like going to his house and trying to get him to play. And you just we're all young men. You have your mindset in a certain frame of mind. And he wound up not playing. And then very quickly, once the game started and stuff, he would just come up to me and you know, he apologized to me all the time. He said, Willie, you don't gotta apologize, man. It's okay. You still got another year. And but with that, I mean, he was constantly at the games. He was like another coach on the sideline. He headbutted me a couple times with my helmet on and him with just no helmet on. So again, that's just passion. And I remember we were playing West Islip and he's damn near in tears because it was a close game, triple overtime. And you can just tell so badly how he wanted to be out there with us. You know, so, you know, but it was like just having another coach there, you know, another brother on the field. He never left our side. That's just, you know, a testament to his character, you know, how much he cared about us, you know, through high school and through everything that we went together. Because even though he wasn't there, you know, someone with less character probably, you know, maybe would have wished bad on us, right? That I'm not there and, you know, they can't do without me type attitude. But that was never his mindset. You know, it's almost like he wanted us to win more. It's kind of like what I'm going through with coaching. It's like when you're not out there, you want to be out there so bad, but you can't, you know, so you just got to support your brothers. And that's what he did.
You could just see it in him. You could just see, you saw it in him because he played baseball, but then once he went to the football field, he was like a different person on the field.
He had like a freight train, man. I mean, I don't know the heaviest he was, you know, maybe 175, but you know, he's one of those players that you could hear it, you know, when he hits. And that's, you know, was one of those, you know, players that it was never scared of anyone. And, you know, you could hear, you could feel it in the stands, you know, like it shook the ground. He would just, you know, he hit so hard, and he was a three-way player. He did everything. He was a great offensive player. We could throw him the ball. He could run it. He could return kicks and punts, and but you know, Bellport's always had good backs, and he's in the long line of them. And I just feel like where he really distinguished himself was on the defensive side of the ball. And you know, he was a great running back, but you know, to have all three of those qualities is rare. To see a kid, you know, a young man like that just, you know, dominate the game from an early age, and to do it in all three phases, you know, offense, defense, special teams. You know, it's, you know, he did great things, and then he was an absolute game changer. Like we said, I'll never forget, it was, I think, his 9th grade year, my 10th grade year, and we were playing East Islip, you know, homecoming, and we actually lost that year. We were like 4-4, I think, but maybe 5-3. And but he was just the best player on the field as a freshman, and you knew the future was definitely bright for him, for sure.
He was number one. He was the best player out there.
Well, it was well, it goes back to when we lived down 807 Narragansett. I think our first dog, you know, was Coco, her name was. And if it rained or something outside, Willie was like about, you know, 3 or 4 years old, maybe no more than 5. He'd go outside, get the dog, bring the dog, put him in his bed. You know what I'm saying? And this was at that young age like that. So his passion started not even with a pit bull. And then after that, we ended up getting 2 more dogs. So he had like 3 dogs. By the age of 5 or 6, he already had 3 dogs. Right.
I also remember him just being very charming. You know, Willie loved his dogs. That's just who he was. You know, I remember seeing him in the store, in the deli, and he was going up to people and asking people if they could watch some of his dogs for him, and he would pay him. That's just how Willie was, you know. Everybody knew him, everybody loved him. You know, I love him dearly. And you know, that's he's just a special human being, special. Well, actually, when Willie first got into his music, I actually had a studio upstairs in my house. We called it Attic Records. It was upstairs, and Willie's first songs was there, you know, upstairs with me. I used to, you know, get on the track. I don't know if it was Pro Tools or whatever it was, and I would put the beat down, and I wasn't making my own beats. We would get instrumentals, but and Willie, that's when he first started rapping, and that's when we, you know, first heard about it, you know, him rapping and him being, you know, talented music artist. So, you know, and that's what he wanted to do. You know, that was his life after football. It was music.
I found out probably about a month before he passed away. Me and him was hanging out, and we was sitting out in the car talking, you know, listening to some music, you know. Jeezy, a couple other cats was on, and he said, "Yo, Dre, I'm in the studio." I said, "Come on, Will Davis, you in the studio?" He said, "Yeah, Dre, I'm in the studio." You know, you know what I mean? I said, "Nah." He said, "Yeah, I'm in Dre," and that kind of was it. You know what I mean? And then, you know, fortunately after he passed on, then I heard it, and I was like, "Wow, blew my mind, man."
Well, I always knew Willie did music, but I honestly didn't really take him serious because he always was playing around. He would always come in the house singing, dancing, doing duets. And honestly, I didn't really get to listen to his music until he passed away. And that really hurt me because I wish I could have been a part of that.
I'm honored about this opportunity that you're doing this right now. It's an honor for me, man, to be sitting here with you doing this. Thank you for that. I think this is a great platform for that. You know, I just think that one thing Willie wanted, I think one goal he had was to get his music out there. So he has some music and willing to share it with you and maybe just put it out there because that's just one of the things he wanted to do. And that's the biggest thing for me. Just trying to, whatever he wanted to do, that's still in my power to do, just trying to do that. You know? So this is definitely one of the things, one of the vehicles for that.
The craziest part is, when I first heard Willie passed. I never knew Willie had a passion for music. So to hear him rap or just to hear him do his thing, it was shocking to me because I didn't know that that's one thing that he desired to do. Only thing I knew was football.
I think that music would have definitely taken off because he had the drive to do it. You know what I mean? I think that was his thing, you know? I mean, he took the passion he picked that passion back up that he thought he left in the field. He started putting it into his music. You know, I think he really wanted that, you know? But
yes, I always did, and I always told him I support his career for him to do football because in the streets, there's no friends. People envy you, and they want what you have. Even if you have nothing, you can have nothing. But just from him being popular, they would want to be him. They want to be like him. They want to do the things he do. You don't have to have $1 in your pocket just from him being him, smiling, all this popularity from everywhere. Anyone you name, you could say his name and they'll have a story for you because he was loved.
Yeah, when he found out, I think it really hit home with him when he found out his father was sick with cancer. And he called me one night. He was like, "Hey, bro, you know, I just wish I would have, you know, did the school part because I could be taking care of my dad right now." You know what I mean? Because Dad told me that he too believed that he was pro-talent. He believed in that, man. But, you know, he just came up short. But that's when I knew, you know. It hurt him, man. There's no way. That's what he wanted. You know what I'm saying? That kid wanted that. You know, I mean, I remember from him being on the freshman, coming home, you know, that was, you know, they was having a little rocky time when he was a freshman on the team, you know. And it, you know, but coming out of PAL, he was kicking, but he wasn't used to losing at that time. And I was like, "Listen, man, I should tell him, just go out there and do, how can I do that?" I said, "You can do it, man." You know, but it wasn't like I had the most encouraging words, but those were just times for me and him just having a conversation. I'm sure there was many others who encouraged him and inspired him far more, but that's just our personal conversation that based on the fact that basically we was like roommates one time. When I came home from the military and him, you know, he had one side of the room, I had another. We had a wall in between us, but that's how it was. And that was a whole different relationship for us as well.
All the time. But the type of person Willie was, Willie's going to do what he wanted when he wanted to. And I can say this, it'll never be another Willie. And I know all those people that he helped, was there for, I know you're missing them because you're never going to have another like him.
Well, it was more me, you know, trying to be that big brother, keep him on the right path. I mean, I saw all the athletic potential in the world, so of course I'm like, hell, man, you got it, bro, you know. I play sports nowhere near the talent this cat had. I'm like, yo, you got it. All you got to do is hit the book. So me going to college, things like that, that's kind of how it was. So it was a kind of relationship like that. Yeah.
No boys. That was number one, no boys. But always just do the right thing.
What I was trying to tell him all the right things, but I was more of a sayer, not a doer. You know, I don't really think I led by example. But I think the bigger part of all that is I think we just didn't understand who Willie was. And like I say, looking back over it now, I see he was a gift from, you know what I mean? And when you come like that, you have to be a special person to be able to go back and forth and do like he could. So it was more of me really not understanding who he was, you know what I'm saying, than him trying to understand what I wanted him to be.
I remember seeing him about 2 weeks before his passing, and he was playing one-on-one at the Belport Park. He was playing against Tone. He was playing Tone one-on-one. He had no shirt on with jeans. And I remember him saying, Rich, I can't do it like that no more. You know, these young boys killing me now. I don't got it no more. Something he said like that. And I remember laughing. I remember telling him like, nah, you always gonna have it. You always have it. And that was the last conversation that we had. So yeah, man, I you know.
We were at, what was the bar called? We were at Painter's. I actually went that night, me, my sister, and my best friend, Justina. When we seen Willie in the bar, we just felt like he shouldn't be there because, for one, he always screamed at me, why the hell you going out? What you need to be going out for? You see the same freaking people in Belport every single day. So when I seen him, I was shocked. He bought me and my sister some drinks, and I just remember us leaving that night. It was so weird because he always gave me hugs and stuff, but he never said, I love you. That night, he gave me and my sister a hug and kiss, and he said, I love you. So we went home, and I was about to get ready. We were getting ready to go out with my other friends. It was about like, I think 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And we got a call to my house phone. So I'm thinking it was the guys we were going out with calling to tell us they were outside waiting for us. But it ended up being Audrey, his mother, and she told my sister, you have to get to Montauk Highway because something bad happened to Willie, and someone called her and let her know. So we rushed down there, and the cops wouldn't let me drive my car down. So the cop told me to get out my car and run down. So I ran down, and when I ran down there, someone told me, they ran up to me and they said, listen, Willie's no longer living. And I was like, what you mean he's no longer living? Because that came out my mouth. And when I went to see what the cops, talk to the cops, they wouldn't even speak to us because they can't really pronounce anything at the scene. They have to wait for everyone to get there. They're not any medical professional. So basically I went home so I could go tell my dad, my stepdad, that's his brother, his blood brother. And when we got home, I let him know, and my life just changed from there.
All right, the first phone calls probably came through I think my mother called me like 3:08. The day before I had a tooth pulled, and I thought I was dreaming because it was my phone going off at that time in the morning. Then the next time the phone rang at 3:16 was when my cousin, she called me and said that Willie was in an accident and he wasn't responding. So, you know, I just had this presence come over me. It's like, wow, not responding at that time, not to be negative, but I just knew it wasn't good. I just felt it. And then I just said, try to find my clothes. I said, I got to go and identify his body. I just know I had to do that. So I just said, God, just give me the strength just to do that. So anyway, you know, went my way up to the hospital, and it turns out, man, Willie's not even there. Typical, right? You know, get there, all this, man, you getting yourself, he wasn't there because he was still out on the highway. So anyway, and finally I got a call from the county, the morgue, whatever they called me, and said, okay, you know, this time you come view him. So that was it, man. Went there, we viewed him. What was that?
It was like, I got the call like 3:28 in the morning. And I just hopped out. So I'm just sitting there, like, trying to get my thoughts together, trying to get it together. So my boyfriend asked me if he wanted me to, if I wanted him to drive. I was like, no, I need to do this by myself. So I'm coming from Riverhead, going to Brookhaven Hospital. So I'm on 51. And then my cousin called me back and said, one's responsive and one's not. So I just looked up to the sky and was like, please, Lord, like, please let my brother be all right. He's made it out so many times before. And this time, he didn't make it out. After that was like I don't know how I made it from where I was to Brookhaven. But I got there and just to see everybody, it just seemed so unreal because I was expecting Willie just to be at the hospital and be alive.
I couldn't sleep that night. That's the crazy part. And I overheard my mom talking to my stepdad, and I overheard the conversation, so I was worried. And I just heard her on the phone screaming and crying, so I knew something was wrong. And I went to, like, go to sleep, but I still couldn't. So then, like, when she came home, that's when I found out. But I already had the feeling that, like, he was gone.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about. Still, 9 years later, it brings pain to me. I remember my mother coming into my room about 5 or 6 in the morning, and she gave me the news, and it really hurt. You know, it really hurt because, like I said, I felt Willie was a Superman. I felt like, you know, something like that could never happen to him, you know, just because of, you know, who he was and who he is, you know. It's sad. I still think about him to this day, every day. I still love him. I still miss him. You know, mainly I just feel for everybody. You know, people that were super close to him.
It's a day that I don't think any of us will forget. I was actually, you know, working that night doing security, and you know, it was, you know, we heard what happened, and you couldn't believe it. You know, you thought you were dreaming. You know, going to the hospital and everything, and yeah, it's tragic, you know, and we lost him too soon. You know, we lost him too soon. You know, I know it's, you know, can't imagine what his family goes through. I mean, my father lost a brother. You know, my middle name is Robert, and we called him Uncle Bob, and that's, you know, I never met him, but my dad still carries that weight with him all the time. You know, so you never, you know, truly get over it. But, you know, in his memory, you know, the best thing is to carry his memory along and honor him the way he deserves to be honored. You know, because, you know, the human spirit, it doesn't die, you know, and we'll still go down and to the cemetery. It's right by where I work, so sometimes we're able to just, you know, beat the horn, and, you know, we'll get out sometimes. I took my daughter there, you know, and it's, you know, that's all we can do, you know. It's something that we'll never get over, but, you know, we try to honor him the way he deserves to be honored. And, you know, the monument for him on Montauk Highway there, you know, the big number 5. I think that's something amazing that, you know, I'm pretty sure his family keeps going, because that's what we need to do. You know, he needs to be remembered.
Well, my family, we really love each other and support each other. So we get through the hard times together. Sorry. We always get through the hard times together. We pray and we stick together no matter what.
At first, they never say question God. So it took me a while to realize that. But as the time goes on, it gets easier, but you have your moments. And I just look at it like God gave him to us for 24 years. And I just try to reflect on the times we shared. And just my main thing is because I feel like my kids got the short hand of the stick. Because I know if my little brother was here, you know, my kids have nothing to worry about. And I just try to tell them as much as I can about him.
I hope you're proud of me and how I keep your name alive.
You just want them to know that you did right by them. And that's all I wanted to do. I wanted him to know, like, I know as brothers and sisters, like, we're gonna fight. But when you needed me, I was there. And I just want him to know that I love him so much and I miss him.
And for me, that means that when he died, I just vowed that, you know, because every year comes around, you gotta maybe have remembrance, you're gonna do balloons. But I said, listen, man, I said, for me, I just have to be in a better position every year. Well, I felt like it was in vain, you know what I'm saying? So that's where I took it. So I took something negative and made it positive for myself to push myself in different areas. You know what I mean? And that's what I try to do. And I say, I got you, bro, because, you know, ain't no sense in coming back here. You know what I mean? So you do you there, and I got you here. And I say, I got you, bro, because I feel like, listen, there's things he wanted me to do. You know what I mean? He had expectations for me. So when I say, I got you, bro, I'm going to live up to your expectations. And that helps me deal with Willie not being here.
We love you, Willie, and hope you rest in peace.
You know, thank you, you know, and we love you, and we're going to, you know, continue to honor you. Whenever we wear that number 5, whoever throws that number 5 on, we always let them know who wore it before, you know, and then, you know, obviously your name is, you know, at the top of that list. Yeah, we love you, my man, and thank you for everything.
What I would say to him if I had the chance to is, I love you. Your spirit still lives on. Every day you here with me, with your family, with your loved ones. You're here with all of us every day. You know, in the football world, in the basketball world, just, you know, the Superman. And you'll forever be in my heart. And, you know, my son will know who Willie Davis is. So, you know, I just hope that we make you proud, you know. I hope that the world gets to hear your music and your talent. And just rest up.
Northside, NYG. Billboard, stand up, man. Where my Max and my trays at, you heard? What up, slime? I'm tryna get this money. Niggas in the hood, they be acting funny. Cause they know I'm Mac and they know I ball. Every other day, boy, I'm at the mall. What up, slime? I'm tryna get this money. Niggas in the hood, they be acting funny. Cause they know I'm Mac and they know I ball. Every other day, boy, I'm at the mall. Niggas is funny. Because I'm getting that money. I know that your bitch love me, but I need this money. Yeah, I'm not a Mac, but my brother is. Same grandmother, different mother's kid. When you see squeeze, I be on my other shit. Northside dog, I was raised up in that gutter, bitch, early in the morning. On my bread and butter shit, it's raining outside. SK got that rubber grip. I dare nigga to put holes through my man's whip. I get it poppin' like Chopper from the band, bitch. Suge Knight at the light. Tupac got your man hit. Max throw money up, trades be underhanded. Get love from the bloods, never take it for granted. Burner outside on the thermal, I'm trying to manage. Black glue slowing the money down, I can stand it. Taking off like the plains of timber, I never landed. Northside, purple thug bandit, NYG gangster. Frontin' on me, I shank ya, nigga.